and welcome to the Lifestyle Refresh Podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so excited to have you here. This is a space where we explore what it really means to live a balanced, healthy, and fulfilled life through fitness, mindfulness, resilience, and everything in between. I created this podcast to share with you my journey, all the ups and downs, and the lessons I've learned along the way. My hope is that it inspires you to show up for yourself no matter where you're starting from. Each episode will dive into topics that will help you refresh your mindset, habits, and lifestyle so that you can step into the best version of yourself. I'm so glad you're here to join me on this journey. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Lifestyle Refresh Podcast. Today's episode feels a little different, but maybe in the best possible way, because I'm not coming on here today with a perfectly wrapped lesson or a fully completed transformation for that matter. I'm actually showing up inside the process, right in the middle of the mess, the awakening, the unraveling, and the rebuilding. And honestly, as tough as it is, it feels really good to finally let myself be seen here. Because for so long, I thought I had to wait until I had the final lesson or the full polished version of each story of mine before I shared it. But the truth is, the real work, the real magic, and the real transformation actually happens in the in between. And that's exactly where I am right now. In that hall space between who I've been and who I'm becoming. In that dance between old patterns and new awarenesses. In the part of the journey where everything feels both familiar and brand new all at the same time. These past few weeks have brought up pattern after pattern for me. Moments that have held such a mirror up to myself that I can't look away anymore. And instead of running from it, instead of distracting, numbing, over explaining, or trying to outwork my discomfort, I actually paused long enough to see myself. And that is where the shift happened. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. One of those quiet awakenings where something rises up inside of you and whispers, okay, this is the moment. This is where things change. So today, I want to take you through that. The patterns, the mirrors, the tests, and the breakthrough that finally landed for me literally just the other night. And this isn't coming from a place of having it all figured out. I always say that it never is. But from the place of actually living in it. Because transformation isn't a straight line. And I think it's time we stop pretending that it is. So, before I get into the breakthrough itself, I want to talk about where I've actually been mentally, emotionally, and energetically. Because these past few months have felt like one long transition, not a breakdown, more like a shedding, a dissolving of what I used to cling to, and an uncomfortable stretching into something new. I've been walking through a season where nothing feels stable, but at the same time, nothing is fully falling apart either. It's kind of that strange in between space where you're doing the inner work, you're asking the hard questions, you're trying to communicate differently, you're trying to show up differently, you're doing all of the things, and life just keeps handing you situations that test whether you're actually ready to change. And that's kind of the key part, is what I just said there, that the universe is going to keep testing us to see if we're actually ready to change on that behavior and change how we show up in those challenging moments. But I get it, because honestly, I've felt stuck at times. I've felt frustrated. I've felt myself slipping back into old versions of me, the fixer, the overthinker, the caretaker, the one who takes on everything emotionally just to keep the peace. There were moments where I could literally watch myself react in a way that I knew wasn't me. It wasn't the aligned version that I wanted to be anymore. But I didn't know how to show up or choose differently. You got to think of these patterns and these behaviors too. If you've been living with them, like however you old, I'm 35 years old, so I've been living this way with these patterns, just second nature beliefs that this is how I show up. So it's going to take a lot to practice to undo that, to unlearn that. But that's the humbling part of growth that not a lot of people talk about. The part where you're aware but not yet embodied. The part where your heart knows the way forward, but your nervous system is still wired in the survival mode. I kept telling myself, I'm learning, I'm healing, I'm doing the work. But I also had to face the truth that awareness without action, still keeps you in the same place. And that's where things really started to shift for me. As I started to pay closer attention to all of this, I noticed something important. These patterns weren't new. They were familiar, almost getting to like a predictable point. It's truly been like life has been handing me the same lesson over and over again, just wrapped up in different situations, different conversations, different triggers, but the same root was always there. So I'll be honest with you about what my patterns looked like, because I'm sure there are other people out there that can relate to it. But my biggest ones were taking emotional responsibility for everyone else's reactions, shrinking my truth so that I didn't create conflict, over explaining myself to feel more understood, losing my feminine energy and slipping fully into my masculine just to survive the day. And this is a new one that I've learned that's very much like, when you think of masculine and feminine, you think we are one or the other, but we both carry both qualities, and they look very different in a man versus a woman. And I think it's just something truly important for us to understand and learn, coming from old wounds or anything that you are trying to learn, grow, and heal from, because learning that was part of the big catalyst moments that I just had that kind of cracked me open and realized a lot of new things. But another one for me was feeling like I had to carry the whole household, which I'm sure a lot of moms and women, maybe working or not working, can relate to. The emotional load, the whole everything. And the last one, abandoning my own needs. Then, this is a tough one to face. Abandoning my own needs, then feeling resentment build because of it. And I've known of some of these patterns for a while now, and I've been trying, you bring your awareness, and then it's like I said, trying to bring that action and that change into the behavior. It's more challenging than it seems, than it's said to be. It's another practice. So every time I thought I had outgrown a pattern, life would hand me another moment to test if that was actually true. And that's a tough thing, but that's because the thing about patterns is they don't break just because you realize them. They break when you realize them and then learn to respond differently. And if I wasn't responding differently yet, I was still reacting from old wounds, old programming, and just old beliefs. But I kept getting these little mirrors held up in front of me, little moments where I'd see my own reflection in whatever that dynamic may be and think, okay, here we go. Here's that lesson again. But it's true. You got to pay attention to it. It was like the universe wasn't asking me to fix anything around me. I finally realized it. And it wasn't that. It was asking me to finally look at myself. Not what all the other people were doing around me, to look at me and how I was responding and what I was doing. And that is where we come to the other night when, I don't know, I heard something just clicked. I've heard some of these things over and over again from specific people too, but something just came over from a video I saw and something I learned that it just clicked. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. Nothing loud and crazy. It was quiet in my bed late at night, but let me tell you, it was the clearest I've felt in a long time. I had this moment where everything slowed down, and it was like I was standing outside myself, watching my reactions, watching my thoughts, watching the way I was interpreting things. And this is just me sitting reflecting from a video that I saw with this whole feminine, masculine energy and kind of the dynamic between the two in our relationships and how our energies mirror each other. So usually what we're putting off, we are getting the counterpart in return. Like, that's why they say too, like, opposites attract. Like, your counterpart is usually going to make up and fill on the other end. But if we're both coming from wounded energies, it's not positive or supportive. So this whole clicking for me really just made me reflect, review, and rewatch kind of all of my reactions, how I was showing up. And it really helped me see the bigger picture. I realized that so much of what I thought was happening to me was actually happening from me or for me. And I've heard that phrase so much before, but again, it just clicked in that moment. And I get it now that the situations that frustrated me were mirrors. Those miscommunications I kept having were mirrors. That the emotional triggers, even, were mirrors, all pointing me back to the same truth. My truth. I cannot create a new life while responding from an old version of myself. That night felt like something opened. I say it whenever I feel like I have these deep reflections where I have like almost like a little awakening. I feel like my brain expands times 10. And that night I was finally able to see the pattern and feel the strength finally that I could choose differently. The most freeing part about that is I didn't feel angry, I didn't feel ashamed, I didn't feel broken. I did feel all those feelings beforehand, and I think it is important and okay to feel all your feelings. But in this moment of clarity for me, I felt ready to own my part, ready to shift how I show up, ready to communicate from truth instead of fear, and ready to hold myself with compassion instead of self-criticism. It was an awakening that didn't demand chaos, it demanded presence. And in that moment, I understood something that changed everything. The lesson stops repeating the moment you decide to stop abandoning yourself. And that is the energy I'm stepping into now. So now that I've had this shift, I want to share what moving forward actually looks like. Not perfectly, not instantly, but intentionally. Because the real transformation isn't the realization. That's a huge part of it, but that's not where the transformation is. It's who you decide to be after the realization. And the version of me I'm stepping into is grounded, conscious, and honest, but not reactive, not defensive, and not carrying more than what belongs to me. For me, this next chapter looks like responding instead of reacting, taking a breath before I speak and asking myself, am I answering from fear or from truth? Communicating from my feminine energy instead of my survival energy. So no more over-explaining, no more talking myself in circles to keep the peace, and no more bending myself in half emotionally. I'm over that. And I'm also going to be letting people carry their own emotions. Their feelings are not my responsibility. My job is to stay rooted in mine. If I am not regulated, the people around me can't be regulated. Again, the mirrors. And I'll be noticing when old patterns show up, but without shaming myself, because awareness is growth, but it's also healing. And awareness is also the first choice toward a new path. I'll be holding myself accountable with compassion. So I won't be forcing myself, not punishing myself, just gently redirecting myself toward the woman I'm becoming. And here's the biggest one. Allowing myself to live and share in the middle of the transformation, just like I am here today. So no waiting until everything is perfect or resolved. Not hiding the messy middle. not pretending I'm someone I'm not. Because this right here is the part that actually changes you. And I want to honor that. I want to witness it. I want to let it shape me into someone stronger, softer, clearer, and more aligned. But I want to leave you with a few questions for yourself that have helped me shift into this new space. And if you're listening, maybe these will land in your heart too. But 1, what pattern keeps showing up in your life that's asking you to choose differently? Maybe it's communication, maybe boundaries, maybe it's people pleasing, or just maybe it's the way you talk to yourself. Number 2, where are you abandoning your own truth just to keep the peace? And how is that costing you? Number 3, what mirror is life holding up for you right now? What situation feels repetitive to you? And why do you think it might be returning? Number 4, are you reacting from who you were or responding from who you're becoming? And number 5, what would feel different if you chose presence over protection? Your life will shift the moment you're willing to see yourself with honesty and compassion, not judgment. And that's where the new story begins. And before we wrap up, I want to touch on something else that's been supporting me through this whole season of growth. Because the inner work, yes, is very powerful, but it also asks a lot from your mind, your energy, your nervous system, your hormones, really all of it. And I've realized more than ever how much my daily wellness habits keep me grounded and stable while I'm doing this deep internal work. Because as you know, in some of my previous talks and chats, I have really struggled with a lot of hormone struggles and just my nervous system flaring up on a whim, whether it be from stress or who knows what else. Healing is important, but it can weigh heavy on you as well, going through that messy middle part like we've talked about. And something that has made it, this part of this journey, so much easier for me, I swear, has been my consistency with my new wellness products. I have been drinking greens, energy fizz instead of energy drinks, and whole meal replacement protein drinks every day for 2-3 months now. And all those little choices that keep my body nourished, my energy steady, and my mood supported are huge going through this journey and healing process. But it's funny, when you start healing emotionally, your physical well-being becomes even more important. Not from a place of like perfection or anything, but just from a place of support. So when I talk about the products I use or how much my new Arbonne company has played a huge role in my day-to-day routines, it's because these habits genuinely have been anchoring me. They're part of how I care for myself so I can keep showing up for this deeper transformation. I'm not going to go much deeper into that today because honestly, this episode was meant to hold space for that inner transformation piece. The patterns, the mirrors, the awakening that's unfolding me right now as we speak. But I will say this, When your inner world starts to shift, your outer habits naturally shift with it. And that connection between emotional healing and physical support is something I want to dedicate a full episode to soon. So consider this a little preview of what's coming next. But for now, I want to thank you for being here with me in this season, in the messy middle, in the becoming, and in the honest conversations that don't have clean edges yet. So if you're in a similar space, if you're noticing your own patterns, your own mirrors, your own invitations to grow, just know you're not alone. Transformation doesn't happen after the storm. It happens inside it. And you're doing better than you think. Thank you for listening today. I'll see you in the next episode where we will dive deeper into supporting your physical body while you're doing the deeper emotional work. But until then, stay mindful, stay open, and keep choosing yourself. Show you